Hey there, sleepyheads. Welcome back to Boring History for Sleep, your quiet corner of the internet, where we gently unspool the fascinating, often overlooked threads of the past. Tonight we're stepping far from our comfortable modern world back into the raw, untamed heart of the American frontier in the 1870s. It was a time and place of immense social upheaval, yet also rigidly defined, particularly for women navigating its harsh realities. If you find a quiet solace in these historical drifts and these stories gently pull you into their embrace, perhaps consider a soft tap on the subscribe button and a gentle like. It truly helps us keep this quiet journey going. And feel free to share a brief thought or a quiet hello in the comments below, letting us know you're here. So dim the lights, perhaps turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together, exploring the foundational realities that shaped a most extraordinary life. You find yourself dropped into a world where the very ground beneath your feet feels raw, untamed, and frankly a little bit terrifying. This isn't the sepia-toned romance of the dime novels. This is the American frontier of the 1870s and 1880s, a place where survival is a daily negotiation and comfort is a distant memory. For women, this landscape presented an unforgiving macro-reality, a social and legal cage that made independent existence a near impossibility. You see it everywhere, woven into the very fabric of society. Women like you can't vote, can't secure a business loan, and can barely own property unless it's neatly tucked under a man's name, father, husband, brother. Respectable jobs are scarce and offer pitiful wages, leaving precious few legitimate avenues for a woman to stand on her own 2 feet. You're quite simply subordinate legally and socially from the moment you draw your first breath in this era. Yet within this rigid, almost suffocating social hierarchy, a peculiar and audacious loophole emerged. For a select few, a life outside the bounds of conventional respectability offered an unexpected, albeit dangerous path to power and wealth. Becoming a madam, you quickly learn, is virtually the sole route to independent financial success for women. It's the universe's most cynical punchline, really. The same societal cage designed to keep you down, also inadvertently forge the unlikely perilous path to your very own illicit empire. This isn't just about survival. It's about carving out a space of autonomy in a world that denies it at every turn. You see the various levels of this illicit sporting life laid out before you, a clear if unspoken hierarchy. On one end are the high-end parlour houses, establishments where discretion is paramount and the clientele are well-heeled. On the other, the cribs as desperate, squalid places where the women exist on the absolute fringes, their lives as brutal and short as the frontier itself. Each level reflects stark differences in income comfort and, most importantly, safety. Law enforcement, you observe, doesn't quite fit into the neat boxes you might expect. They are the enforcers of order, certainly, but their allegiances are often fluid. You quickly understand that their protection, or at least their willingness to look the other way, is often a commodity and arrangement that can be bought with a discreet monthly payment. Justice, it seems, is not always blind, sometimes it's simply paid. This blurring of lines means that your safety and the safety of your establishment often depends less on the letter of the law, and more on your ability to navigate these murky transactional waters. And then there's society itself with its stark unforgiving division between respectable women, the wives, mothers and daughters who uphold the veneer of polite society, and fallen women. You as a madam exist in a liminal space, essential to the community's economy and entertainment, yet publicly scorned and denied any legitimate social acceptance. You provide a necessary service, a vital revenue stream, but your existence remains officially invisible, spoken of only in whispers and condemnations. This invisible strata of society is further complicated by the sheer diversity of the frontier. When you step out onto the dusty streets, you hear not just English, but Spanish, German, French, Chinese, a cacophony of multi-ethnic voices belonging to the migratory populations that flock to mining towns seeking their fortunes. These individuals often form another layer within the social fabric, frequently at the lower end of the social and economic hierarchy, adding to the volatile, unpredictable mix of frontier life. You recognise that this intricate web of social tiers, from the outwardly respectable to the utterly desperate, defines not just how people live, but how they survive, how they thrive, and often how they are forgotten. It's a constant, unspoken battle for legitimacy and respect in a world that offers very little of either to those who step outside its narrow, prescribed lanes. You learn quickly that understanding these intricate hierarchies, both explicit and unspoken, is not just helpful, but absolutely vital to your very existence and the success of your enterprise. You quickly learn that in this frontier world, everything, and you mean everything, revolves around the raw, pulsing heart of the local economy. For many of these boomtowns, it heartbeats with the rhythm of the mining industry. You live and breathe by its cycles and almost primal connection to the earth's bounty. A new mining strike. Your establishment buzzes with anticipation, a fresh influx of hopeful, often lonely men. Payday for the mines echoes through the dusty streets like a siren song, and you brace for the rush, knowing your rooms will be full, your girls busy, and your ledger swelling. But then the flip side, a mine plays out, a vein runs dry, and the town along with your business exhales slowly a collective sigh of desperation. The boom and bust cycle isn't just a historical footnote, it's the very tide that lifts or strands your economic boat. You observe how fortunes are made and lost with bewildering speed, a constant gamble that defines the prosperity or poverty of everyone around you. Your ability to anticipate and adapt to these shifts to save during the boom for the inevitable bust becomes a critical survival skill, like predicting the weather, only with far more immediate consequences for your bottom line. And speaking of your bottom line, you soon discover where the real money lies, the steady flow that stabilizes your enterprise even during slower times. It's not necessarily what you might first assume. Alcohol sales, you realize, are an absolute powerhouse. Whiskey, beer, and whatever else can be procured flow freely, often marked up by a staggering 60% or more. The allure of a strong drink, a temporary escape from the grinding hardship and loneliness, is a constant, almost universal demand. Men will always spend on drink, often before anything else. You might offer the comfort of companionship, but it's the liquid courage that truly oils the gears of your establishment. It's the silent workhorse of your revenue, ensuring a consistent income that often dwarfs the direct earnings from the girls' services. You watch as a miner fresh from the dust and grime slaps down a few coins for a glass, and you mentally calculate the profit, a small but significant victory in the daily economic battle. Of course, operating a business like yours means navigating a curious grey area of legality. While you might exist outside polite society, you still exist within the sphere of the town. This brings us to another non-negotiable business expense, one that feels less like a tax and more like a necessary protection racket, the monthly payment to the local sheriff. You see it as a constant, almost ritualistic transaction. It's not just about avoiding raids, though, that's certainly part of it. It's also about receiving advance warnings of any trouble brewing in town. You might grumble about it, but you understand its necessity. It's the price of operating in the liminal space you occupy, a practical cost of doing business when the official legal framework doesn't quite accommodate you. Beyond these larger economic currents, your daily operations demand a keen awareness of basic resources. You're constantly monitoring your inventory, a task far more critical than it might sound. Running low on whiskey. Disastrous. No fresh bread from the local bakery. A subtle but noticeable blow to the comfort you offer. Flour, sugar, coffee, lamp oil. These aren't just commodities. They're the lifeblood of your operation, reflecting a fragile dependence on local trade and often unstable supply lines. You'd think such basic items would be readily available, but out here in the heart of the frontier, a delayed supply wagon or a bad harvest can mean real hardship. You learn to plan to hoard a little, to be resourceful, because a well-stocked pantry and a full liquor cabinet are not just conveniences, they are bulwarks against the unpredictable nature of your existence. And it's this very unpredictability coupled with the systemic economic limitations placed on women that pushes so many into the sporting life. You've seen it firsthand. Respectable jobs are closed off, business loans are a fantasy, and property ownership without a male guarantor is almost unheard of. What options does that leave a woman alone in the world? Very few and often none that offer true independence or even a decent living. You might consider the laundress scrubbing clothes all day for $1 or $2, barely enough to feed herself, let alone save for a future. Contrast that with a prostitute who in your establishment might make $5 to $10 on a good night. The economic disparity is stark, almost brutal in its clarity. It's not a choice made lightly, but often a choice made out of desperate necessity. A stark recognition that the sporting life, for all its dangers and social stigma, offers one of the few viable avenues for financial independence. This path, while fraught with peril, can lead to substantial wealth for the most astute. You've heard the stories, perhaps even seen the evidence of madams like Matty Silks in Denver, who with a shrewd financial acumen invested heavily in real estate across the burgeoning city, transforming her illicit earnings into legitimate assets. Or Jenny Rogers, another Denver legend, who didn't just accumulate wealth, but invested it in critical infrastructure like irrigation projects, making her a significant if unacknowledged economic player. These women defied the typical female financial dependency of the era, becoming powerful figures in their own right, even as polite society pretended they didn't exist. You recognize their resilience, their keen business sense, and perhaps a flicker of aspiration for your own future, a quiet hope that you too might one day transcend the immediate struggles and build something lasting, something that defies the very systems designed to hold you down. The sheer scale of their success is a testament to their strength and adaptability, a stark reminder that even in the most unforgiving landscapes, empire builders can emerge from the most unlikely of places. Out here, Mother Nature isn't just misunderstood. She's a full-blown frontier diva throwing tantrums that remind you civilization is merely a polite suggestion. You feel it in the omnipresent dust that coats everything, settling into your lungs, caking your clothes and blurring the landscape. You taste it in the water, often brackish or scarce. You experience it in the sudden, violent shifts of weather, a scorching summer day quickly giving way to a bone-chilling night, or a clear morning turning into a raging blizzard that can trap you for days. There are no detailed weather forecasts or climate-controlled environments here. You live at the mercy of the elements, a daily struggle against conditions that can easily break the unprepared, even when specific natural disasters aren't explicitly bearing down on your town. The underlying threat is always there, pervasive sense of precarity that hums beneath the surface of daily life. And within this rugged landscape, you quickly grasp the stark absence of formal societal safety nets. There are no government assistance programs, no unemployment benefits, no social security here. If you fall, there's no one to catch you but yourself, or perhaps the fragile community you build around you. Your survival, and that of the girls who work for you, relies almost entirely on self-sufficiency, a fierce independent spirit that views any reliance on external institutions as weakness, or worse, a pipe dream. You rely on your own business acumen, your shrewdness, and the informal support networks you cultivate within your establishment, and perhaps with a handful of trusted individuals in town. This self-reliance isn't a choice. It's a fundamental aspect of existence, forcing you to develop a resilience that modern life rarely demands. Every penny saved, every shrewd deal, made every bit of foresight exercised, is a bulwark against the inherent instability of your world. Beyond the elements and the lack of state support, a more insidious threat lurks in the very air you breathe and the close quarters you inhabit disease. You know it's always present, a silent, invisible enemy that can decimate a household or an entire town. That's why your insistence on monthly doctor's visits for your employees isn't a luxury. It's a pragmatic, albeit grim, commitment to maintaining a healthy and productive workforce. You understand that sick girl is a financial liability, but more importantly a human being whose life could be snuffed out by a simple fever or a quickly spreading infection. These rudimentary medical checks, often conducted by a gruff doctor who barely acknowledges your presence. You're a task to him, not a person, are a stark reminder of the harsh health realities of your profession. They check for venereal diseases, tuberculosis, unusual bleeding signs of pregnancy, all the potential threats that could cripple a girl or your business. You know that modern medicine is a distant dream, and frontier medical care is rudimentary at best, making prevention and vigilance your most potent if imperfect weapons. You feel the constant environmental conditions in your bones. The warm spring air might offer a brief respite, but it also means dust stirred by every gust of wind clinging to your clothes, settling in every crevice of your establishment. The cool night air can quickly turn bitter, seeping through the thin walls of your building, making sleep a fitful, shivering affair. There's no central heating here, no climate control to offer consistent comfort. You're always too hot, too cold, too dusty, too damp, your body constantly adjusting to the whims of the weather. These aren't just minor annoyances. They are fundamental aspects of frontier life, shaping everything from what you wear to how you sleep, adding another layer of physical burden to your already demanding existence. And then there's the ongoing, almost obsessive need to manage your inventory. This isn't just about maximizing profits, it's about survival. You recall the sheer panic when you realize you're running low on whiskey, understanding that this isn't merely a sales dip but a potential disaster that could impact your establishment's reputation and allure. Every essential supply, from lamp oil to coffee, must be carefully managed, rationed and reordered. You're acutely aware of resource availability, a fundamental aspect of frontier life, where shortages could cripple your enterprise and threaten the livelihoods of everyone under your roof. You learn to plan to hoard a little, to be resourceful, because a well-stocked pantry and a full liquor cabinet are not just conveniences, they are bulwarks against the unpredictable nature of your existence. Ultimately, these myriad pressures, the unforgiving elements, the absence of formal support, the constant threat of disease and the fragility of supply, forge an indomitable spirit within you. Despite the personal weariness that often clings to you like the stale smoke in your saloon, you find the strength to face each dawn. Each sunrise brings with it the inevitable challenges, the daily grind, the constant negotiation with a world that seems designed to break you. Yet you persist. You might be tired, your body aching, your mind constantly calculating, but you rise. You manage, you protect, you perform. This constant pressure, this unyielding demand for resilience shapes you, hardens you, and allows you to not just survive but to carve out a place for yourself and your girls in a world that offers no easy path. It's a testament to the quiet strength that hums within you, a silent resolve that whispers, "I will not be broken." You quickly discover that the true mastery of being a madam in the Wild West isn't just about managing girls or balancing ledgers. It's about navigating and at times manipulating the raw forces of power and control that govern the frontier. Every day is a subtle dance, a constant chess game played against societal norms, male aggression, and the capricious nature of the law. You must always be shrewd, always vigilant, and possess an unyielding resolve to protect your interests and your girls. You're in essence a general in a small self-made army, constantly responding to threats and challenges with a cool head and a steady hand. Being a madam, as you now intimately understand, is virtually the sole route to independent wealth for women in this era. You circumvent a system designed to deny you power, no voting rights, no business loans, no property ownership without a man's name attached. Is less a profession, more a masterclass in exploiting society's blind spots, a sort of high-stakes historical glitch in the matrix. You recognize that by providing a service deemed immoral, you gain access to a world of economic autonomy otherwise closed to you. This is not a choice made lightly, but a calculated decision, a defiance born of necessity. You learn to keep meticulous records, your own hidden ledgers reflecting the true figures, a secret wealth that empowers you. You hear stories of women like Jenny Rogers investing her earnings in Denver's irrigation, or Matty Silks shrewdly acquiring vast real estate across the city, transforming illicit profits into legitimate enduring assets. You see their paths as a beacon, a possibility for your own future, a quiet defiance of the limitations placed upon you. The monthly arrangements with local sheriffs are not just a cost. They're a continuous necessary investment in your security and operational stability. You pay these informal taxes ensuring your establishment avoids raids and crucially receives advance warnings of any trouble brewing in town. It's a practical, pragmatic solution to operating outside conventional law, a grey area where money speaks louder than statutes. You consider it simply another overhead, a cost of doing business that maintains a precarious peace. This is the frontier after all, where self-preservation often takes precedence over strict adherence to legal niceties. Even amidst fierce competition from other establishments, you learn the value of cautious alliances. Other madams, while rivals, are also fellow travellers in this dangerous profession. You form unwritten agreements to set prices to warn each other about particularly violent or troublesome customers, and to pool resources when collective action is needed, whether to bribe officials or hire extra protection. You recall Madame Rosalie's urgent inter-madam meeting after Lily's murder, a grim reminder of their collective vulnerability and the necessity of mutual support. It underscores a fundamental truth in this world: even your rivals can be vital allies in the face of larger shared threats. You quickly master the art of looking the part. Your elegant silk or velvet gowns, your understated but expensive jewellery, these aren't mere vanity. They're a carefully constructed projection of success and authority, a silent declaration of your position. This image attracts a better-class clientele, men with more money, and often a greater expectation of discretion and refinement. This in turn allows you to charge higher prices, reinforcing your precarious but undeniable social influence. You understand that in this visually driven society, presentation is everything, a performance that elevates your standing, and by extension, your profitability. You recognize the subtle power of a well-tailored dress and a steady gaze, a quiet confidence that commands respect, even from those who might outwardly scorn your profession. Your authority is constantly tested, particularly by difficult or violent customers. These are the moments when your true mettle is revealed. You must intervene strategically, protecting your girls sometimes with a visible pistol at your hip, and always with swift, decisive action to maintain order and safety. You vividly recall the tense standoff with Jed's companions, a moment where the thin veneer of civility threatened to shatter, requiring every ounce of your resolve and strategic thinking to diffuse the situation. It's a constant tightrope walk, balancing firmness with a desire to keep the peace and not drive away paying customers. You're a judge, jury, and sometimes executioner in your own domain, your decisions immediate and often irreversible. Beyond the immediate daily confrontations, madams like you also actively influence the political landscape, albeit subtly and from the shadows. You hear of Matty Silks acquiring a liquor license, an unheard-of feat for a woman-owned business, or the Denver madams satirically thwarting a yellow ribbon shaming ordinance that sought to publicly disgrace their girls. These acts are not mere anecdotes. They're demonstrations of strategic resistance, highlighting an unacknowledged power wielded from the margins. You might be officially invisible, scorned by polite society, but your significant financial success and essential role in the community, providing entertainment and revenue, make you integral even if you exist in a liminal space. This constant unspoken battle for legitimacy and respect defines much of your struggle, a quiet war waged daily for the right to simply exist and thrive on your own terms. You don't need to be told that frontier justice operates with a stark, brutal bias, especially when it comes to the women in your profession. In this world, some lives counted more than others, a grim truth etched into the very fabric of society. You've seen it firsthand, the cold reality that the murder of a prostitute like Lily's tragic end is often resolved with a swift, often extrajudicial brutality, without the nicety of a formal trial. Her killer, you learn, was shot by the sheriff while allegedly trying to escape. You understand that this isn't justice in the sense of due process, but rather a swift public disposal of a problem, a quick closing of a messy incident that society would rather forget. There's no prolonged investigation, no agonizing over details, just a quick resolution that emphasizes the expendability of those like Lily and the absolute power of those who enforce the law. It's a chilling reminder of your precarious standing, a stark illustration that your legal protections are at best a flimsy curtain. Within the confines of your establishment, however, a different kind of law prevails, your law. The brothel functions under your immediate authority, enforced through a strict set of rules that you've meticulously crafted for the safety and order of your girls and your business. You drill them into every new arrival, especially someone like Emily, who is fresh off the street and utterly green. Never go with a customer who's too drunk. You instruct, knowing that intoxication breeds aggression and danger. Don't leave the building with a customer unless cleared by me, a rule designed to prevent abductions, disappearances, or worse. No stealing, no fighting. These are fundamental to maintaining a functional, profitable, and relatively safe environment. Violations of these rules, you make clear, lead to immediate dismissal, often without wages, a harsh but necessary consequence that underscores your absolute authority as judge and jury over your employees' conduct and their future. This internal system isn't about lofty ideals of justice, it's about pragmatic survival and maintaining a delicate balance. The official justice system, you realize, offers virtually no individual rights for women, especially those in the sporting life. You're vulnerable to false accusations, a pervasive threat that can instantly ruin a life, as Emily's story vividly illustrates. Charged with theft, she had no recourse, no one to believe her, no legal avenue for defence. Without references or a respectable background, she was effectively trapped, pushed further into the margins, her options dwindling until only this path remained. You understand that this systemic lack of rights is a constant weight, making every interaction with officialdom a potential minefield. It's a powerful mechanism of control, ensuring that once a woman steps onto this path, it is incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to turn back. The system is designed not for rehabilitation, but for containment and implicitly punishment. As the madam, you serve as the ultimate enforcer within your domain. When disputes arise among your girls, say Rose and Jenny quarrelling over a customer or a perceived slight, it is you who must arbitrate. Your word is final, your ultimatums firm. You don't tolerate internal strife that threatens the harmony or profitability of your business. You must be unyielding, a figure of absolute authority who can swiftly resolve conflicts, enforce discipline, and ensure that personal grievances don't escalate into chaos. This role is physically and emotionally draining, demanding constant vigilance and an iron will, but it is essential for the cohesion and survival of your surrogate clan of women. You're the immovable object, the final word, the one who ensures that order, however fragile, is always maintained. While the official law enforcement might be corruptible, you've also learned that it can be strategically leveraged through your arrangements. The sheriff's timely intervention against Jed's companions after their drunken aggression threatened to spiral out of control is a prime example. This wasn't altruism. It was a demonstration of how your carefully cultivated connections, your regular payments, could co-opt state power for direct protection when needed most. It's a transactional relationship, certainly, but one that provides a crucial layer of security in a lawless world. You might scorn the corruption, but you also understand its practical utility, a tool in your arsenal, to protect your girls and your business from the omnipresent threat of violence. The official response to violence against working girls further highlights the brutal commodification of their profession. You recall the fine paid by Bessie for a death at her establishment. A business cost a regulatory penalty, rather than a deep investigation into the victim's life or a pursuit of justice for her. The legal system, even in violent death, prioritizes business order over the sanctity of the victim's life. It reinforces the idea that these women are, in the eyes of the law, merely components of an enterprise, their fates, reduced to a ledger entry. This chilling detachment is a constant reminder of the profound lack of respect and humanity afforded to them, a harsh reality you must constantly confront. And finally, beyond official law and corruptible enforcement, an informal yet pervasive social control operates through community gossip. You make mental notes tracking customer behaviour. Mr. Wilson's wife might want to keep a closer eye on him. These observations aren't just for your own protection. They become valuable intelligence. Reputations, both yours and your customers', are constantly at stake, and this informal network of whispers and rumours can be weaponized. It's a delicate balance, using this information discreetly to protect your girls or leverage a situation without inviting the full vengeful force of polite society's moral condemnation. You learn to listen, to observe, and to understand that in a small frontier town, secrets are both currency and a constant threat. You understand with a chilling clarity that settles deep in your bones that death and violence are not abstract concepts in your world. They are ever-present grim realities. Whether it stems from an angry customer's drunken rage, the cutthroat competition of jealous rivals, the insidious creep of disease, or simply the brutal indifference of the frontier itself, your business is always dangerous. This isn't merely a turn of phrase. It's a constant, palpable truth that demands ceaseless, utterly draining vigilance. Every night as the doors swing open and the lights come up, you're acutely aware that the unexpected can happen, and you must be ready. The air itself feels heavy with this unspoken tension, a silent companion to the laughter and music. The extreme vulnerability of working girls to male aggression is a reality you confront almost daily. You still feel the chilling echo of Lily's murder, stabbed for the simple act of rejecting a man's advances. And then there's Jed's explosive violence when he was refused a stark illustration of the lethal consequences of wounded male pride. These aren't isolated incidents. They're archetypal examples of the constant unyielding threat of physical harm that your girls face. You know that for many men on the frontier, a woman in your profession is seen as property, an object whose refusal is an insult demanding a violent response. This dehumanization makes your work of protection not just a managerial duty, but a moral imperative, a desperate attempt to shield vulnerable lives from the casual brutality of the age. In the face of such omnipresent death, you have cultivated a pragmatic, almost cold view. It's a necessary adaptation, a shield against the emotional toll that would otherwise overwhelm you. When Lily was murdered, your mind immediately leaped to the business implications, how to increase security, whether to adjust prices, how to manage the fear that would ripple through your other girls. And when Emily arrived, still shaken by Jed's violence and subsequent death, your reassurance was stark realism. Jed died because he was violent. You deflect blame not out of callousness, but from a deep ingrained understanding that in this world, personal responsibility for one's actions, however brutal, is often the only narrative that offers a semblance of control. This isn't about softening the blow, it's about reinforcing a hard truth, preparing your girls for the realities of their lives and protecting your establishment's fragile peace. You recall Madame Rosalie's warning, hushed and urgent, about Lily keeping a book of clientele secrets. You understand that information, while a potent source of power, you hear tales of Jenny Rogers blackmailing a politician for $17,000, a truly staggering sum, can also be a lethal liability. Powerful men with reputations and futures at stake will fiercely guard their secrets, and any woman who possesses them becomes a dangerous loose end. It's a double-edged sword. You use such knowledge subtly, cautiously to protect your interests, but you also instill in your girls the absolute necessity of discretion, understanding that some secrets are best left unrecorded, unshared, and ultimately unmentioned for fear of deadly repercussions. This is not mere gossip. This is the currency of power and the shadow of death intertwined. The tragic fates of many madams serve as grim, sobering reminders that the profession demands a heavy price. Few achieve graceful retirements, fading quietly into comfortable obscurity. Instead, you hear stories of women succumbing to alcoholism, disease, or violence, their lives ending not with a whimper, but often with a brutal finality. Pearl Dev's morphine overdose, for instance, echoes through your mind a stark example of the ultimate cost. This life, for all its moments of power and wealth, rarely grants a dignified end. It's a relentless grind that slowly erodes body and spirit, leaving little room for a peaceful sunset. You recognize this as a potential future for yourself, a quiet burden you carry even as you strive to defy it. Society's profound disregard for women in your profession is palpable, evident in every interaction and every official response. The unceremonious handling of Lily's killer, the implicit societal acceptance that some lives counted more than others. These are not just legal outcomes, they are moral judgments. Even in death, these women are denied honour, dignity, or often even a proper burial. Their lives are deemed disposable, their memories quickly erased, a harsh, unforgiving verdict from a society that benefits from their services, while simultaneously condemning them. You fight against this erasure, if only in your own small way, by fostering a sense of community and worth within your walls, a quiet rebellion against a world that seeks to deny their very humanity. Self-defense, even to the death of an aggressor, is not just a right, it's a grim necessity for survival. You've seen cases where authorities, understanding the brutal realities of the frontier, accept such actions with little more than a fine or a minimal investigation. It highlights the brutal unwritten rules governing honour and safety in your world. For a working girl, protecting herself even with lethal force is often the only option when faced with an aggressor. It's a testament to the raw, untamed nature of this existence, where personal safety is a constant battle, and the lines between right and wrong are often blurred by the desperate imperative to simply stay alive. You observe the women around you, and sometimes you look into the mirror at yourself, and you see not an organised collective uprising, but a pervasive, deep-seated discontent. It's not the kind of icky or peasant rebellion you might read about in history books, where villagers band together with pitchforks and torches. Instead, it's a quieter, more insidious kind of unrest, born from the extreme economic and social constraints placed upon every woman in this Wild West. This discontent manifests as individual desperation, pushing them, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes with a grim resignation, into this sporting life as a last resort for survival. You recognise the familiar glint of despair in their eyes, the weary set of their shoulders, the knowledge that they have exhausted every other option. The suffering that fuels this discontent is multifaceted and relentless. You see it in the severe lack of legitimate employment opportunities, a stark desert of respectable work that traps women in a cycle of poverty. You feel it in the systemic male dominance that pervades every aspect of society, denying women agency and control over their own lives. And you witness it daily in the constant threats from lawless elements and a biased justice system that offers little protection and even less justice. These are not minor inconveniences, they are fundamental existential hardships that create a pervasive sense of powerlessness and hopelessness. This collective suffering, though not channeled into organised rebellion, seethes beneath the surface, driving individual choices that reshape lives. Rather than collective uprisings, the discontent primarily takes the form of individual acts of survival and defiance. You see it in Emily, who fled false accusations rather than endure injustice, choosing the precarious safety of your establishment over an uncertain fate in a biased legal system. You hear it in Rose's emotional outbursts over Johnny Wilson's betrayal, a raw expression of heartbreak and anger at a system that allows men to make and break promises with impunity. And you witness it every single day in the quiet, unyielding struggle of your girls to protect their meagre earnings, to maintain a shred of their reputation, and to carve out a semblance of dignity in a world determined to deny it to them. These are not acts of grand revolution, but small personal insurrections against a suffocating reality, each woman fighting her own battle for autonomy. Paradoxically, by providing employment a semblance of protection and a fragile sense of community, you, the madam, inadvertently act as a buffer against deeper societal unrest for your employees. Your establishment, for all its unsavoury reputation, offers an alternative to total destitution, a sanctuary of sorts from the absolute poverty and vulnerability that would otherwise be their fate. You offer regular meals, a roof over their heads, and a degree of safety that the outside world rarely provides. This isn't charity, it's a business, but in its very function it addresses some of the immediate needs that fuel the broader societal discontent, channeling individual desperation into a structured, albeit illicit, enterprise. You're providing a practical solution to a systemic problem, even if it's one society refuses to acknowledge. The trajectory of this individual unrest often culminates in personal tragedy or desperate, irreversible choices. You see the severe consequences for those who resist too openly or who fail to navigate the treacherous currents of their profession. Being thrown out on the street means immediate destitution, a terrifying prospect in this unforgiving landscape. Social ostracism is a constant threat, and violence, both physical and emotional, is never far away. The path these women walk is narrow and fraught with peril, and any misstep can lead to catastrophic consequences. You know that for many their story ends not with triumph, but with a quiet, forgotten despair, a silent testament to the brutal realities of their lives. This isn't a fairy tale. It's a struggle for survival where the stakes are always life and death. You look at the women who walk through your doors, women who arrive with tales of hardship etched into their faces, and you recognize them as society's discarded warriors. They are the widows suddenly bereft of male protection and means cast adrift in a world that offers no sympathy. They are the abandoned left to fend for themselves by men who promised much and delivered little. And they are the falsely accused like Emily, fleeing injustices that strip them of their reputation and any hope of conventional life. These women are cut off from traditional paths, forced to carve out an independent, precarious existence, relying solely on their wits and their raw resilience. They are the ronin of the frontier, masterless, solitary, and infinitely dangerous in their desperation. Their struggles, you observe, mirror those of a ronin in almost every painful detail. There is profound poverty, a constant gnawing hunger for security and basic necessities. There is intense social ostracism. They are avoided in daylight, their very presence a source of scandal to polite society. And there is the constant need to make desperate choices for survival, each decision a gamble against impossible odds. They rely solely on their inner strength, their adaptability, and their fierce determination. There are no lords or patrons to offer them a safe haven, only the harsh reality of a world that has deemed them expendable. You see the strength, the quiet defiance in their eyes, even amidst their vulnerability. You as the madam embody this masterless warrior archetype most completely. You operate your enterprise without direct male control, a true anomaly in this patriarchal era. You're independent, yes, but also constantly vulnerable, a prime target for those who seek to exploit or control. Your survival and the survival of your business relies not on a lord's patronage or a husband's protection, but on your keen acumen, your shrewd decisions, and your unyielding will. You are the architect of your own destiny, forging a path through sheer force of will, in a world that would rather see you subservient. It's a heavy burden, this independence, but also a source of immense pride and power. The very existence of these unattached women, these discarded warriors, represents a systemic problem for polite society. They challenge every norm of female dependency, every comfortable illusion of order. Their autonomy, however precarious, is a potent source of scandal, a visible crack in the meticulously constructed facade of respectability. Yet even as they are scorned, you know they make significant if unacknowledged economic contributions. They fill a void, provide a service and generate revenue that flows through the town, propping up other businesses. It's a profound hypocrisy, this societal disdain for the very women who help keep the frontier economy humming. And within the walls of your establishment, for all its unsavoury reputation, you witness the formation of a unique kind of family, a de facto clan. The madam and her girls, bound by shared hardship and a common struggle, often form a tight-knit community. They look out for each other, share resources, celebrate and mourn. This is where the mutual support and protection denied by mainstream society are found. It's a sanctuary, however imperfect, where women find solace, camaraderie, and a sense of belonging in a world that has otherwise cast them out. You as the madam are not just their employer. You're their matriarch, their protector, and the unyielding centre of their precarious world. This clan becomes their chosen family, a vital bulwark against the loneliness and brutality of the frontier, a place where they can finally be seen, understood, and defended. As you navigate the quiet hours of dawn before the town stirs fully to life, you find your mind drifting over the minute details of daily existence. It's a life defined by tangible discomforts, by the rough textures and stark realities that fill your senses. You feel the constant, subtle irritation of the raw, unwashed wooden floorboards beneath your boots. They are often splintered uneven, and in places gapped enough for you to catch a glimpse of the muted light from the saloon below. It's a constant reminder of the building's functional, unrefined nature, a place built for utility rather than elegance. These aren't the polished floors of an Eastern mansion. They are the hard-worn planks of a frontier establishment carrying the weight of countless footsteps, countless stories. The air itself is a constant sensory presence. In the mornings when the clamour of the night has finally settled, it still carries the lingering ghost of its past. You discern the complex cloying scent of cheap perfume, not the delicate floral notes of a lady's boudoir, but something heavier, trying to mask the inevitable body odour that accompanies close quarters and limited bathing facilities. This mingles with the sharp, acrid wood smoke from the pot-bellied stove, a constant presence that permeates everything, settling in your hair and clothes. And underneath it all, the stale reek of whiskey and tobacco, deeply embedded in the very fibres of the building, a testament to countless nights of revelry and escape. It's an olfactory tapestry that defines your workplace, a heavy, almost suffocating atmosphere you breathe in with every breath. The scarcity of true comfort extends to your brief moments of rest. Your narrow iron bed frame with its lumpy horsehair mattress offers little in the way of luxurious slumber. You often find its springs poking uncomfortably through the thin fabric, a constant annoying pressure point against your weary body. The scratchy faded red wool blanket, worn thin from countless washes and years of use, offers warmth, but no softness. Sheets you muse are indeed a distant dream reserved for the more opulent establishments, or perhaps for the wives of the town's wealthier citizens. Your bed is a utilitarian object, a necessity for sleep, not a haven for relaxation. It's a quiet testament to the hard-bitten nature of your world, where even rest is a functional, rather than indulgent experience. Your room, a tiny space that barely accommodates the essentials. Your bed, a wobbly three-legged table with a dim coal oil lamp and a battered trunk, underscores the transient nature of your existence. There's no room for personal mementos, no space for the sentimental clutter that marks a settled home. Everything you own is practical essential, reflecting a life lived with a constant awareness of impermanence. It's a stark contrast to the grand, elaborate homes of the very men who frequent your establishment, a visual reminder of the vast chasm between your two worlds. You sometimes trace the patterns in the dim light cast by your lamp, imagining a different kind of life, one filled with more permanence, more personal space, more cherished possessions. The thin walls that separate your private space from the rest of the bustling establishment are a constant source of both information and intrusion. You can clearly hear the rhythmic snoring of a girl in the next room, a familiar, almost comforting sound that speaks of shared existence. In the early mornings, before the full swing of the day, the muffled sounds of the piano being tuned downstairs drift up a discordant prelude to the night's music. These sounds are a constant auditory backdrop to your own fitful sleep, weaving through your dreams and reminding you of the ceaseless activity of your world. You learn to interpret these sounds to distinguish the mundane from the urgent, becoming an expert in the subtle symphony of your brothel. As the sun begins its slow ascent, bringing the first slivers of light through your thin cotton curtains, the sounds from the street below begin to seep in. The clatter of wagons on dusty streets, the jingle of harness, the cacophony of multi-ethnic voices, English, Spanish, German, all blend together into the waking hum of the town. You can pick out the sharp, practiced laugh of a working woman, a sound that is both familiar and a little heartbreaking, filtering through the window. It's a reminder that even in the quiet of dawn, the world outside is already stirring, demanding attention, pulling you back into the relentless rhythm of your days, a constant gentle pressure to rise and face another round of challenges. The saloon itself, though quiet in the morning, is a raw functional space. A long scarred bar etched with the marks of countless glasses and elbows dominates the room. Mismatched tables and chairs, worn and sturdy, are arranged for the evening's patrons. A small raised stage stands ready for the piano player, his instrument a focal point for the entertainment to come. Faded prints of racehorses and hunting scenes torn from Eastern magazines adorn the walls, attempting to provide an illusion of grandeur. A large, cracked mirror behind the bar reflects the room, distorting the reflections, a subtle metaphor for the illusions you and your girls present each night. It's a utilitarian space designed for commerce and fleeting pleasure, but in the morning light it feels almost poignant, a quiet stage awaiting its next performance. You understand that in your world, sustenance is less about culinary delight and more about pure, unadulterated function. The goal is simple: to fuel the body for the arduous demands of the day, to keep hunger at bay, and to maintain the energy required to manage an establishment that never truly sleeps. Breakfast, for instance, typically consists of simple fare, often just fresh bread from the local bakery, perhaps accompanied by a sliver of cheese if times are good. On more prosperous days, a basic stew might be offered, its hearty warmth a welcome start to a cold morning. This isn't the kind of meal you linger over. It's consumed quickly, efficiently, a testament to the practical rather than gourmet nature of your daily diet. You eat what you can when you can, knowing that the needs of the business far outweigh any personal preference for a leisurely repast. Coffee, however, is a different matter entirely. For you, the madam, it's a non-negotiable luxury, a ritual that anchors your chaotic days. Even in the leanest of times, you ensure that good quality beans are purchased, recognizing the profound psychological comfort and the vital kick of caffeine they provide. You savour the bitter warmth, feeling it spread through your weary body, a rare, simple pleasure in a life that offers few refined enjoyments. It's more than just a drink. It's a moment of quiet rebellion, a small indulgence you grant yourself, a brief pause before the relentless demands of the day begin to assert themselves. You nurse your cup, watching the saloon slowly come to life, knowing this brief respite is precious. The constant demanding schedule often dictates quick, unvaried meals throughout the day. Lunch, if you even have a dedicated one, might be another serving of bread and cheese or whatever is readily available. There's little time for elaborate preparation or a diverse menu. This reinforces the idea that sustenance is primarily for energy, an immediate need not for leisure or culinary delight. You eat to live, to work, to endure. The focus is always on efficiency, on minimizing downtime, on ensuring that the needs of the establishment are met first, and your own often secondary. You might find yourself grabbing a mouthful between dealing with a supplier and settling a dispute, a testament to the relentless grind of your daily responsibilities. The frontier, by its very nature, presents significant challenges to the availability of fresh provisions. There's no modern refrigeration, no convenient refrigerated wagons, bringing in daily deliveries of exotic produce. This necessitates rudimentary food preservation methods like drying, salting, or pickling. While you might occasionally procure fresh vegetables when a travelling peddler comes through, the emphasis remains on the immediate, often monotonous consumption of available staples. Meat is cured, vegetables are stored in root cellars if available, and grains are the bedrock of most meals. It's a diet dictated by necessity, ingenuity, and a constant battle against spoilage, ensuring that every bite serves a purpose in the grand scheme of survival. Alcohol, as you well know, plays a multifaceted role in your establishment. Beyond its primary function as a profit driver, it's also a pervasive element in the daily lives of your customers, and to a lesser extent for you and your girls. For many, it serves as a psychological coping mechanism, a temporary balm for the loneliness, the hardship, and the anxieties of frontier life. For others, it's a social lubricant easing inhibitions and fostering a false sense of camaraderie. You witness its effect daily, the way it loosens tongues, dulls pain, and often fuels aggression. You might partake yourself a small glass to cut the edge off a particularly grueling night, but always with a calculated awareness of its power and its potential to undermine the control you so meticulously maintain. It's a tool, a currency, and sometimes a quiet vice, all rolled into one. You recall the arrival of a new girl like Emily, fresh off the stagecoach, weary and anxious. The madam you immediately offer her a hot meal, a bowl of stew-fresh bread. This simple act, more than just hospitality, hints at a subtle class-based access to provisions. By virtue of your position, your madam, you enjoy slightly better or more consistent fare than your employees, or certainly better than the desperate choices faced by someone newly arrived. It's a small but significant marker of your authority and relative comfort, a practical demonstration of the benefits that come with your hard-won position. This warm meal isn't just sustenance, it's an initiation, a silent promise of a different kind of life, however precarious within the walls of your establishment. It's a stark contrast to the brutal hunger that likely gnawed at Emily's stomach just hours before a tangible sign of the relative security you can offer. You wake with a familiar stiffness in your joints, and a quiet determination in your mind, knowing that the daily ritual of hygiene, rudimentary as it is, must begin. It's not about luxury or pampering. It's about presenting a respectable, clean facade in a world that often lacks both. Your first task is to splash lukewarm, often cold water from a chipped ceramic basin onto your face. A sliver of harsh lye soap does its best to cut through the grime of the night, a brisk but uncomfortable awakening without the luxury of warmth or abundant water. It's a sharp shock to your system, a bracing cold that chases away the lingering shadows of sleep, preparing you for the demands of the day. You're not clean in the modern sense, but you're clean enough, which on the frontier is often all you can hope for. Mirrors, you have learned, are a rare commodity in your establishment. They are deemed too expensive, too fragile, too prone to breakage in a rough and tumble environment, where a stray elbow or an angry fist could shatter them in an instant. This means you've had to learn your own face by feel, an intimate knowledge of its contours and planes. You trace the lines that have deepened around your eyes, the set of your mouth that has hardened over time, a silent map of the years and the struggles. You know yourself not by reflection, but by sensation, a stark reminder of the absence of vanity, and the practicality that governs your life. You recognize the faint puffiness under your eyes, the tension in your jaw, the marks of a life lived relentlessly in the service of survival. While your working girls might apply rudimentary, often heavily scented perfume to mask odours and enhance their allure, your own approach to fragrance hints at a more nuanced understanding of personal presentation. Your morning ritual involves a practical splash of rose water, a light, refreshing scent that is more about cleanliness than seduction. But as evening approaches, you shift to heavier perfumes, a deliberate choice that aligns your personal fragrance with your professional performance. It's part of the transformation, the donning of the madam persona, a subtle yet significant detail that projects an image of sophistication and authority, distinguishing you from your employees and attracting a better class clientele. It's a calculated part of the illusion, enhancing your presence without being overtly provocative. Your insistence on monthly doctor's visits for your employees is a rare, almost unheard of preventative measure on the frontier. You understand its vital importance, underscoring your pragmatic commitment to maintaining a healthy and productive workforce. You know that a sick girl can quickly become a liability not just financially, but also a source of potential infection for the others. Despite the personal stigma attached to the physician who attends to women of your kind, you ensure these visits happen. It's a necessary cost, a bitter pill to swallow, but one that safeguards your most valuable assets, your girls and their health. You endure the doctor's barely concealed disdain, knowing that your priorities lie elsewhere in the hard realities of your business. These medical examinations are brief but thorough checking for venereal diseases, tuberculosis, unusual bleeding or signs of pregnancy. They're invasive, uncomfortable, and a stark reminder of the harsh health realities of their profession. But they are also a testament to your proactive business management, a critical measure for the girl's survival and the continued operation of your establishment. You stand by ensuring the doctor is doing his duty, knowing that every check is a potential early warning, a chance to mitigate a crisis before it truly takes hold. It's a cold, hard truth, but these checks are a lifeline in a world where medical care is often a luxury and disease a swift killer. A fleeting moment of sensory luxury for you, the madame arrives in the late afternoon. This is when you can indulge in a thorough wash with water heated on the stove. It's a stark contrast to the cold splash that started your day, a moment of genuine warmth and comfort that you savour. This isn't a daily indulgence. It's a strategic one, a small reward for enduring the relentless demands of your life. It emphasises the scarcity of comfort, the value you place on such simple warmth, and the brief respite it offers. You feel the tension drain from your muscles, the grime wash away, and for a few precious moments you can almost forget the world outside, finding a quiet peace in the simple act of being truly clean and warm. The overall lack of personal space and constant close quarters for the girls, along with shared wash basins and rudimentary facilities, paints a clear picture of communal hygiene practices dictated by necessity rather than luxury or privacy. There are no private bathrooms, no individual amenities. Everything is shared, practical and functional. It fosters a certain intimacy, a forced familiarity that further binds the girls together in their shared struggle. You understand that this communal existence, while lacking in personal comfort, is a direct consequence of the environment, another layer of the unvarnished portrait of their daily lives. You know with a deep weariness that settles into your bones that running a brothel is not the glamorous, effortless life depicted in fanciful tales. Far from it. It's an exhausting, relentless grind that demands your presence and vigilance around the clock. You're up until the early hours managing customers, overseeing the girls, and meticulously handling the money, ensuring every transaction is accounted for. Yet even as the last customer stumbles out and the girls finally retreat to their rooms, your day is far from over. You face early mornings filled with ordering supplies, discreetly paying off the sheriff, and integrating new employees like Emily. into the intricate rhythm of your establishment. It's a relentless 24/7 cycle, a treadmill of demands that leaves little room for personal rest or reprieve. You're always on, always observing, always managing a human linchpin in a demanding machine. Despite what most folks might think, the work is profoundly physically demanding. Your muscles constantly ache from being on your feet, moving between the saloon, the private rooms and your small office. The unscrubbed wooden floors, often uneven and splintered, become a constant enemy to your ill-fitting boots, adding to the daily toll on your feet and legs. You carry trays, intervene in disputes, stand guard, and are always in motion, a silent sentinel overseeing your domain. This isn't a desk job. It's a performance that requires stamina and an enduring physical presence. You feel the strain in your back, the throb in your calves, the quiet exhaustion that seeps into every fibre of your being, a testament to the unglamorous reality of your physical labour. Central to your survival and success is your meticulous bookkeeping. You keep your own books, recording every single transaction, every dollar earned, every payment made in a hidden ledger, secreted away where only you can access it. This is the true record of your empire, the real figures that dictate your financial standing. But for the prying eyes of lawmen or any unwelcome scrutiny, you maintain a less revealing version, a carefully crafted facade of numbers that tells only what you want them to know. This dual accounting demonstrates a crucial blend of secrecy, financial acumen, and constant vigilance against external scrutiny. You're an economic strategist, an accountant, and a master of subterfuge, all rolled into one, understanding that knowledge, especially financial knowledge, is power and protection. Beyond the numbers, you function as a complex figure, part mother, part warden, part diplomat, and part enforcer. You manage a diverse array of personalities among your girls, settling disputes before they escalate, nursing the sick, with a blend of practical care and firm resolve, and constantly protecting them from abusive customers who see them as mere objects. Simultaneously, you must maintain a facade of genial hospitality for your clientele, always smiling, always welcoming even when your heart is heavy or your patience is thin. It's an emotional tightrope walk, demanding an endless well of empathy, shrewdness, and an iron will, a relentless balancing act between business and humanity. The working girls, you realize, contribute significantly beyond their primary role of providing entertainment and companionship. They are the backbone of the household, pitching in with the daily chores that keep the establishment running. They sweep floors, arrange chairs, wash and mend clothes, and perform countless small tasks that ensure the smooth operation of the brothel. Crucially, they also gather valuable town gossip during their errands. Who's doing what, with whom, what's happening at the mines, what new personalities have arrived in town. This information transforms into valuable currency, a pervasive network of informal intelligence that keeps you abreast of the community's pulse and potential threats. The brothel in essence operates as a functioning self-sufficient household, a collective effort forged by necessity. Your duties extend to the crucial task of training new girls like Emily, initiating them into the harsh realities of brothel life. You start them with more mundane tasks, cleaning, serving drinks, observing their demeanour, assessing their resilience. You provide essential, often harsh advice about customer interaction, self-preservation, and the delicate art of emotional detachment. It's a rapid, pragmatic education, fostering the resilience and professionalism necessary for their survival in a demanding and often brutal environment. You are their mentor, their guide, their teacher, in the unwritten rules of this dangerous game, understanding that their ability to thrive or even just to survive depends heavily on your tutelage. Your role includes constant crisis response, a skill you've honed through countless tense situations. You recall your calm intervention in Rose's emotional outburst, diffusing a volatile situation with a firm hand and an understanding heart. And then there was the armed standoff with Jed's companions, a moment where you had to balance the immediate needs of your business with the absolute imperative of ensuring the safety and dignity of your girls. These are the moments when your true leadership emerges, when you must make swift, decisive actions that can mean the difference between order and chaos, safety and violence. You are the rock upon which your establishment stands, the calm eye in the centre of every storm. The phrase physically demanding work, despite what most folks might think, perfectly encapsulates the hidden toll of this profession. It's not just the long hours or the constant movement. It's the ceaseless alertness, the emotional labour of maintaining a facade, the mental calculus of managing risks and personalities, and the ever-present discomforts of the environment. You might be outwardly composed, even elegant, but beneath that exterior, your body and mind are constantly working, constantly strained, a silent testament to the extraordinary demands of your chosen path. Every day is a battle, and every night you feel the quiet victory of having survived another one. You reflect on the paths that led women to your establishment, and you see a common thread, not one of free choice, but of dire necessity. Many girls you know entered the trade as widows, suddenly alone and without support, in a world that offered scant mercy to unattached women. Others were abandoned by men, their promises as fleeting as the desert wind, leaving them pregnant or destitute. And then there are those like Emily, fleeing abusive homes or false accusations, their reputations irrevocably tainted, all legitimate avenues for survival slammed shut. The truth is, the American frontier offered women tragically few viable alternatives for independence beyond the often precarious institution of marriage. This severe lack of options pushed countless women to the margins, making the sporting life a desperate but often the only recourse. For those fortunate enough to possess a modicum of education, teaching offered a path, but the wages were pitiful, barely enough to sustain oneself. Working as a maid or laundress might provide a roof and food, but at the cost of gruelling labour, for a pittance, a cycle of never-ending toil. These were not paths to independence, but to barely concealed servitude. It was within this bleak landscape of limited opportunity that the brothel paradoxically emerged as one of the few places where a woman, however stigmatized, could achieve a measure of financial autonomy and control over her earnings. It was a trade-off, certainly, but for many the only one that made sense. Yet for some, the brothel offered a unique, if unconventional, education. You hear whispers and sometimes implement policies yourself, where astute madams like Jenny Rogers insisted their girls learn to read, write, speak properly, and even discuss current events. This wasn't about cultural enrichment for its own sake. It was a shrewd business strategy, transforming soiled doves into cultivated companions capable of engaging in intelligent conversation. This elevated their perceived value, allowing them to attract a higher class of clientele and command better prices. This pragmatic education was not formal but incredibly effective, equipping the girls with social skills that allowed them to navigate a wider, more lucrative social sphere, ensuring their survival, and for some, even a path to personal growth. A new girl like Emily, with her background as a governess, possessed a veneer of polite education. But she was swiftly initiated into the brutal practical realities of brothel life. Her refined manners quickly had to adapt to the raw environment. She started with basic tasks, cleaning and serving drinks, quickly learning the nuances of customer interaction, and most importantly the art of self-preservation in a demanding and often dangerous environment. This was an education in resilience, in reading human nature, in understanding the unspoken rules of a world that was utterly foreign to her previous life. Her academic knowledge was quickly supplemented by a far more vital, visceral understanding of survival. Emily's inability to find proper work without references after fleeing a false accusation highlights a chilling truth about frontier society: how quickly a woman's reputation could be irrevocably tarnished. In this unforgiving era, a single accusation, however unjust, could brand a woman, foreclosing all other employment avenues. Without a clean slate, without the backing of respectable references, A woman like Emily found herself in an impossible bind, effectively trapped. The doors to conventional society slammed shut, leaving her with no choice but to enter the sporting life as a last resort. Her past, once a source of pride, became a heavy chain limiting her future to a path she never would have chosen. The entire experience within the brothel, you realise, from managing interpersonal conflicts among the girls to navigating violent customers, serves as a relentless pragmatic education. It's a masterclass in survival resilience and the intricate art of reading human nature. You learn to arbitrate disputes, to diffuse volatile situations, to identify subtle cues of danger in a man's eyes. Every interaction, every challenge hones your instincts and sharpens your wit. This isn't theoretical knowledge. It's hard-won wisdom forged in the crucible of daily struggle. It's an education that prepares you not just for business, but for the very art of staying alive and against all odds thriving in such a precarious world. The brothel, for all its darkness, becomes a brutal yet undeniably effective school of life. You quickly grasp that in this world where appearances are everything, and words can be both weapon and shield, communication and social etiquette are intricate, often unspoken arts. Your very survival and the success of your establishment depend on mastering these subtle disciplines. You as the madam are the chief practitioner of this art, a master of non-verbal cues and carefully modulated interactions, constantly performing for a demanding audience. Your elegant attire, for instance, is far more than mere fashion. It is a critical form of non-verbal communication, meticulously chosen to project success and command respect from both customers and townspeople alike. A gown of fine silk or velvet, a carefully selected piece of jewellery, these aren't just pretty things. They are a silent declaration of your power, your prosperity and your authority. This image, you know, enables you to attract a better class of customer men with more money and often a greater expectation of refinement. It allows you to charge higher prices, reinforcing your precarious but undeniable social influence. You understand that in a society where status is so rigidly defined, your presentation is a crucial strategic tool, a quiet but potent force that speaks volumes before you even utter a word. Your public persona, you realize, must be a carefully balanced act, warm but reserved, friendly but not familiar. You laugh at jokes, you engage in polite conversation, you project an air of genial hospitality. But beneath that welcoming exterior you always maintain a subtle distance, an unspoken boundary that commands respect and prevents anyone from becoming too comfortable or overstepping their bounds. It's a delicate tightrope walk essential for both the profitability of your business and your personal safety. You must be approachable enough to draw in clientele, yet distant enough to maintain authority and prevent any undue familiarity that could compromise your position or put your girls at risk. It's an exhausting, constant performance, demanding an immense amount of emotional labour. Discretion is another cornerstone of your business. You constantly remind yourself and your girls. It's a crucial unspoken rule that governs every interaction within your walls. When you make mental notes about a customer like Mr. Wilson's excessive drinking, it's not just for your own information. It's a reminder of the paramount value placed on silence regarding your clientele's secrets and transgressions. Men come to your establishment to shed their respectable facades to indulge in desires they would never admit to in polite society. Your job, and your girl's job, is to provide that space, that release, and then to ensure that whatever happens within those walls stays there. Loose lips, you know, can not only ruin reputations, but also invite dangerous repercussions from powerful men seeking to protect their secrets. Silence in your world is a powerful form of currency and protection. You understand the necessity of operating under assumed names like Miss Catherine for safety and professional distance. Your true identity, your past, your family history, these are liabilities, vulnerabilities in a judgmental and unforgiving society. Anonymity provides a crucial layer of protection, a shield that allows you to operate in this liminal space without fully exposing your personal self to the harsh glare of public condemnation. It's a deliberate choice, a symbolic shedding of a former life, allowing you to embody the role of madam with a necessary detachment. This new name is your professional identity, a carefully constructed persona that offers both power and a peculiar kind of freedom. Within the bustling, often chaotic environment of the brothel, specific code phrases and subtle nonverbal signals are essential for discreetly managing difficult customers and extracting girls from uncomfortable situations without causing a scene. A particular glance, a tilt of your head to Thomas your bouncer, or a seemingly innocent phrase like, "Mary needs your assistance." These are vital for maintaining order and protecting your girls. They allow for swift, silent communication in a space where direct confrontation can quickly escalate into violence. These codes are part of the intricate dance of control, ensuring that even in the midst of revelry, you maintain a firm hand on the pulse of your establishment. The girls, during their errands outside the brothel, transform into informal intelligence gatherers. They collect and share town gossip, picking up snippets of information about who's doing what with whom, what new prospects have arrived, what political rumours are circulating. This seemingly trivial information about the community's secrets transforms into valuable currency within your walls. It reinforces a pervasive network of informal intelligence that helps you navigate the social and economic landscape of the town, giving you an edge, a deeper understanding of the unspoken currents that shape your world. This isn't just idle chatter. It's vital information that can protect your business, influence your decisions, and ultimately ensure your survival. In better brothels like yours aspires to be, you learn that transactions avoid crude bargaining or explicit discussion of services in the public areas. This is a deliberate choice, an effort to maintain an illusion of gentility that distinguishes your establishment from the lower-end cribs and more overt houses of prostitution. The goal is to project an air of sophistication, to rely on unspoken understanding and discretion, to uphold a veneer of respectability. Men know why they are there. The girls know what is expected. The transaction unfolds with a quiet understanding, a subtle nod, a whispered suggestion, preserving a sense of decorum even in the most illicit of settings. This meticulous attention to social etiquette, even in a world that would deny you any, is a testament to your shrewdness and your relentless pursuit of profitability, and perhaps a glimmer of respect. You oversee the daily transformation, a meticulously choreographed ritual that underscores the entire business as an essential performance for survival. The working girls emerging from their Spartan rooms shed their mundane day-to-day wear and become fantasy figures. Corsets are tightened until ribs shift slightly. Lungs can only expand about halfway. This is fashion, baby, and it's a literal discipline. Elaborate hairstyles are carefully constructed and makeup applied to create an illusion of ethereal beauty, a mask that hides their fatigue and their personal struggles. And you, the madam, undergo your own metamorphosis, donning impressive gowns that project authority and an untouchable elegance. This isn't just dressing up. It's the donning of armour, the preparation for a theatrical production, where the stakes are very real and every player has a critical role in maintaining the illusion. The soiled dove persona, as it's often cruelly termed, demands an intense emotional labour that goes far beyond mere physical presence. Working girls are expected to maintain a certain standard of dress and behaviour, never arguing with customers, always projecting gentle hospitality, despite profound personal struggles, exhaustion or discomfort. You see it in their eyes, sometimes the subtle flicker of weariness, but their smiles remain fixed, their conversation flowing. It's a constant act, a suppression of authentic emotion for the sake of the business. You teach them this discipline, understanding that their ability to perform this role flawlessly is crucial, not just for their earnings, but for their safety. An ungracious girl, a defiant response can quickly escalate into a dangerous situation in this volatile environment. The brothel itself, you realise, is a meticulously controlled stage where chaos must be ruthlessly suppressed. Specific rules about order, cleanliness, and the demeanour of its inhabitants are not arbitrary. They are designed to create a conducive environment for business to maintain a desired profitable atmosphere. Every creak of the floorboards, every loud laugh, every spilled drink, these are managed and contained to ensure the illusion of a lively yet respectable establishment. You are the impresario orchestrating every detail from the music played on the piano to the flow of conversation, ensuring that the performance never falters and the delicate balance of your world is maintained. You and your girls are engaged in significant emotional labour, a continuous draining effort. You're all required to maintain professional smiles, to laugh at jokes that aren't funny, and to offer polite conversation, even when facing aggression, disrespect, or profound personal heartbreak, such as Rose's devastation after Johnny Wilson's betrayal. It's a key part of your daily discipline, a shield against the harsh realities of your profession. You learn to compartmentalise, to bury your own feelings, to put on a brave face because the show, as they say, must go on. This emotional resilience is not a natural gift. It is a learned skill honed through countless nights of suppressing your true self for the sake of survival and income. You've witnessed Emily's quick adaptation to the unspoken rules and expectations of the establishment. You observe her growing confidence in laughing at their jokes, accepting drinks, her posture subtly changing, her gaze becoming more assured. This isn't superficial. It illustrates the intense social and emotional discipline required to simply function, let alone thrive in this environment. She is learning the art of the performance, the subtle cues, the protective layers that allow her to navigate the nightly demands without losing herself entirely. It's a harsh education, but a necessary one, preparing her for the relentless challenges of her new life. Your own unflappable persona is a masterclass in emotional discipline. Your calm exterior through sheer force of will. During confrontations, your ability to remain unoffended by dismissive comments or outright insults showcases your mastery. You project an air of quiet authority and almost imperviousness to the chaos around you. This isn't a natural state. It's a carefully cultivated skill essential to maintaining your authority and ensuring your survival. You understand that any sign of weakness, any emotional slip could undermine your control and put everything you've built at risk. You are the rock, the anchor, the steady hand in a world that constantly threatens to pull itself apart. This emotional resilience is not just a personal trait, it's a cornerstone of your power. You observe your world, a place of harsh realities and pragmatic choices, and you notice a striking absence. There are notably few overt references to formal religious practices within the brothel. This isn't accidental. It suggests a profound marginalisation from traditional religious institutions, those pillars of polite society that unequivocally condemn your profession, and by extension offer no solace for your soul. Churches reverence religious sermons. These are for the respectable folk. For you and your girls, the doors of salvation in the conventional sense are firmly closed. You exist beyond the pale of formal piety, creating your own moral compass in a world that denies you the one traditionally offered. Yet a different kind of spiritual framework, albeit a punitive and external one, constantly threatens your existence, the recurring threat of a moral crusade by the town's people. This pervasive societal judgment acts as a constant external pressure, an ethical hammer that hangs over your head. It instills a deep sense of precarity, a knowledge that at any moment a wave of righteous indignation could sweep through the town, threatening to shut down your establishment, ruin your livelihood, and cast you out entirely. You must always be aware of these undercurrents, constantly assessing the temperature of public opinion, knowing that your very existence is a challenge to the moral fabric of the community, however hypocritical that fabric might be. It's a peculiar irony that madams like Matty Silks and Jenny Rogers despite their ostracism, attempted to gain a semblance of respectability and perhaps in some small way appease societal morality through charitable works. You hear of them donating generously to churches, orphanages and hospitals, the very institutions that would never welcome them personally. Their money was gladly accepted, of course, a pragmatic exchange of funds for services, but personal acceptance from these institutions remained elusive, a poignant and deeply frustrating hypocrisy. These acts of generosity therefore become not a path to redemption, but a quiet, almost defiant assertion of their own value and contribution, even if it goes unacknowledged by the very beneficiaries. It's a way of saying, we exist, we contribute, whether you accept us or not. Emily's directness about her lack of options, her unvarnished honesty about the desperation that led her to your door, and your own frankness about the harsh truths of this world, society doesn't offer second chances, represent a pragmatic honesty that for these women substitutes for or directly rejects conventional moral platitudes. There's no room for sugarcoating, no space for false hope. The truth, however brutal, is what defines their reality. This honesty becomes its own kind of moral code, a clear-eyed acceptance of their circumstances without self-deception. It's a refreshing, if sometimes painful, clarity in a world filled with euphemisms and moral pretense. You often impart powerful advice to new girls like Emily, advice that functions as a defiant personal philosophy, a bulwark against overwhelming societal condemnation. Whatever brought you here, never be ashamed. We provide a service that men seek out willingly. There's no shame in meeting a demand. You might say your voice firm and unwavering. This isn't just a pep talk. It's an internal moral compass, a way of reframing their lives, of finding dignity and self-worth in a profession society deems inherently shameful. It's an act of quiet defiance, a way of reclaiming agency, and finding a sense of honour on their own terms against a world that offers none. Even Squirrel-Tooth Alice, a legendary Texas madam known for her distinctive dental feature, regularly donated to her local church, despite the fact that she herself was not welcome to attend services. This anecdote, passed down in whispers, showcases the desperate, almost heartbreaking attempts by these women to bridge the chasm between their lives and societal morality. They understood the power of contributing to the institutions that shaped public opinion, even if those institutions continued to scorn them. It's a profound commentary on the human need for acceptance, and the extraordinary lengths to which these women would go to secure even a sliver of it for themselves and perhaps for their girls in a world that offered so little. You observe the lives of your girls and indeed your own, and you see a stark truth for women in the sporting life. The concept of love marriage and conventional family life often represents a fleeting, often broken promise of escape and respectability. It's a dream dangled just out of reach, easily shattered. You've seen it tragically exemplified by Johnny Wilson's betrayal of Rose. He promised her a new life, a respectable future, only to abandon her, leaving her heartbroken, her dreams of escape and a conventional family utterly shattered. This pattern, repeated countless times, underscores the precariousness of such hopes and the devastating consequences of placing trust in men who often see these women as temporary diversions rather than potential partners. Your own life as the madam implicitly suggests that marriage is not a primary goal, or even a realistic option for women in your position. Any relationships you might have are more likely to be pragmatic or transactional than based on romantic love, a stark reality of your elevated but isolated status. You understand that your independence, hard-won as it is, often comes at the cost of conventional domesticity. The kind of man who would truly respect and marry a madam in this era is a rare, almost mythical creature. Thus you navigate your emotional landscape with a calculated detachment, recognizing that sentimentality can be a dangerous weakness in your line of work. The narrative of your world consistently demonstrates that women's agency in relationships is severely constrained. You recall Emily's flight from her former master, after rejecting his advances a stark choice between unwanted submission and utter destitution. The girls in your establishment are bought for their time, their bodies, their companionship, not for their affections or their long-term commitment. This highlights their limited control over their personal and romantic lives, where economic necessity often dictates their interactions. Love in this context becomes a luxury few can afford and even fewer can sustain, twisted by the transactional nature of their existence. Adultery or even implied transgression could have ruinous, indeed life-altering consequences in this rigid society. Emily's false accusation of theft, which you suspect stemmed from rejecting her master's advances directly, led to her flight and subsequent inability to find respectable work. Her reputation, once a valuable asset, was irrevocably tarnished, foreclosing all other employment avenues and severely impacting her future prospects for any conventional family life. This illustrates the brutal double standard men could indulge in illicit affairs with relative impunity, while women, particularly those in vulnerable positions, faced catastrophic social and economic ruin for even the hint of impropriety. The private transactions within your brothel, where men pay for the whole night with girls, imply arrangements that in a looser sense could resemble forms of temporary concubinage. These relationships, however fleeting, are driven primarily by male desire and female economic necessity, rather than genuine affection or mutual respect. It's a system built on exchange, on providing a service, a temporary illusion of intimacy for a price. There is no pretense of deeper connection, only the stark reality of supply and demand, further emphasizing the transactional nature of these relationships and the absence of true romantic love. Your personal choice not to engage with special customers yourself, coupled with your quiet reflections on aging, implies a deliberate detachment from personal romantic entanglements within the business. It's a sacrifice made for professional longevity, a recognition that emotional attachments could compromise your authority, your judgment, and your overall control. You prioritize your business, your girls, and your own hard-won independence above the fleeting comforts of personal relationships, a testament to your focus and your understanding of the dangers inherent in blurring professional and personal lines in your world. Yet despite this detachment, there's a quiet ache, a profound yearning that occasionally surfaces in your private thoughts. You sometimes indulge in the fantasy of a small property, somewhere quiet, somewhere no one knows your history, a place with a garden and books. This isn't just a dream of retirement. It represents a profound yearning for a conventional, peaceful domesticity and family life, a life of quiet anonymity and simple pleasures. It's a stark contrast to your current profession, a silent recognition of what you've sacrificed for your independence, a quiet longing for a life that for now remains tantalizingly out of reach. This fantasy is a poignant reminder that even the strongest and most resilient among you harbour dreams of a different, softer existence, a conventional family life denied by the harsh realities of your chosen path. You come to understand that for women in the sporting life, individual identity is often a luxury they cannot afford. It is frequently suppressed, erased, or recast. They operate under assumed names, their pasts carefully expunged, or hidden, their personal aspirations frequently dashed by the harsh realities of their profession. This highlights a profound erasure of personal histories, a shedding of former selves in favour of a persona designed for survival. A girl might arrive as Sarah from Ohio, but she quickly becomes Lily, or Rose. A new identity crafted to fit the demands of her new life. Their individual stories, once vibrant, become footnotes lost in the collective narrative of their precarious existence. Despite the fierce competition that exists between establishments, you observe a striking phenomenon within the walls of better brothels like yours. They often operate as communities. These aren't just businesses. They form a surrogate family or clan, where women looked out for each other, shared resources, celebrated each other's successes, and mourned each other's losses. This mutual support provides a vital social and emotional safety net, a bulwark against the loneliness and brutality of the outside world. Here within these walls they find a sense of belonging, a camaraderie born of shared struggle, a quiet understanding that no one else in polite society would ever offer. It's an unexpected comfort, a testament to the human need for connection, even in the most unconventional of circumstances. You're acutely aware that an individual girl's behaviour directly impacts the brothel's reputation and profitability. A public scandal, a reputation for unruly girls, or even a single act of defiance can quickly damage your establishment's standing, and by extension, its income. This reinforces the idea that collective standing is paramount. Individual actions have far-reaching consequences for the entire clan of women, who depend on the brothel for their livelihood and safety. You enforce strict rules not just for order, but because the collective honour in a business sense of your establishment is its most valuable asset, a fragile shield against the constant threat of moral condemnation and economic ruin. As the madam, you meticulously manage the brothel's reputation. You insist on health checks, maintain decorum, and swiftly resolve internal disputes, understanding that the establishment's honour, in the business sense of reliability and perceived quality, is its most valuable asset for survival. This isn't about moral virtue, it's about shrewd business practice. A good reputation, however paradoxical for a brothel, attracts better clientele and ensures a steady income. You're constantly on guard against anything that might tarnish this delicate facade, recognising that your success hinges on carefully curating the public perception of your establishment, balancing discretion with an undeniable presence. Madams and their girls you reflect exist in a liminal space. They are essential to the community, providing entertainment, a release valve for male desires and significant revenue. Yet they are officially invisible and scorned by polite society. This highlights a profound societal hypocrisy. The town benefits from your existence, yet denies you any legitimate clan identity or respect. You're necessary but unacceptable. This constant tension between your vital role and your public ostracism is a source of continuous struggle, a battle for recognition and dignity in a world that refuses to grant it. You exist in the shadows, vital yet denied, a paradox that defines your very being. The stigma of your profession is profound and lasting. You know it follows women even if they try to leave, making it hard to turn back, and foreclosing second chances in conventional society. Once branded a soiled dove, the mark is indelible, a permanent stain on one's reputation. This lasting impact on social standing is a cruel truth, ensuring that for many there is no real escape, only a perpetuation of their current path. You see the quiet despair in the eyes of girls who once dreamed of a different life, now understanding that the past cannot be easily erased, and society rarely offers redemption. Madame's attempts to gain respectability through charitable works, donating to churches or hospitals as you've witnessed, were ultimately efforts to carve out a form of social acceptance for their clan, even if the money was welcomed, while the women themselves were not. It was a strategic effort to soften the edges of their ostracism, to demonstrate their value to the community, even if that value was only acknowledged through their financial contributions. These acts were a quiet plea for inclusion, a defiant assertion that they too were part of the community, however reluctantly that community might accept them. It was a constant battle for a place and name, a shred of legitimate identity in a world that preferred to keep them nameless and invisible. As you peel back the layers of this demanding life, you move beyond the grand struggles for power and survival and sink into the minute-to-minute realities of a madam's existence. These aren't tales of high drama, but of tangible discomforts, of sensory details that paint a vivid, unvarnished portrait of the sheer grind of daily life. This is the truth of it, stripped bare of any romantic notions, offering a glimpse into the raw, often unpleasant reality that defines your every waking hour and even your restless sleep. You feel it, taste it, smell it, and it clings to you like the stale smoke that never quite leaves your clothes. Consider the very ground you walk on, the unscrubbed wooden planks that make up your establishment's floors. They're often splintered uneven, and in places gapped enough for you to catch a glimpse of the muted light from the saloon below. This isn't just an observation, it's a constant subtle irritation, a daily challenge to your gait. These aren't the polished floors of an eastern mansion, they are the hard-worn timbers of a frontier establishment scarred by time and toil, carrying the weight of countless footsteps and untold stories. They're a tangible connection to the rough-and-tumble environment that defines your existence. The air itself is a constant sensory presence, a heavy, almost suffocating atmosphere you breathe in with every breath. In the mornings when the clamour of the night has finally settled, it still carries the lingering ghost of its past. You discern the complex cloying scent of cheap perfume, not the delicate floral notes of a lady's boudoir, but something heavier, attempting to mask the inevitable body odour that accompanies close quarters and limited bathing facilities. This mingles with the sharp, acrid wood smoke from the pot-bellied stove, a constant presence that permeates everything settling in your hair and clothes. And underneath it, all the stale reek of whiskey and tobacco deeply embedded in the very fibres of the building, a testament to countless nights of revelry and escape. It's an olfactory tapestry that defines your workplace, a constant visceral reminder of your profession. The scarcity of true comfort extends to your brief moments of rest. Your narrow iron bed frame with its lumpy horsehair mattress offers little in the way of luxurious slumber. You often find its springs poking uncomfortably through the thin fabric, a constant annoying pressure point against your weary body. The scratchy, faded red wool blanket, worn thin from countless washes and years of use, offers warmth, but no softness. Sheets you muse are indeed a distant dream reserved for the more opulent establishments, or perhaps for the wives of the town's wealthier citizens. Your bed is a utilitarian object, a necessity for sleep, not a haven for relaxation. It's a quiet testament to the hard-bitten nature of your world, where even rest is a functional rather than indulgent experience. Your room, a tiny space that barely accommodates the essentials, your bed. A wobbly three-legged table with a dim coal oil lamp and a battered trunk underscores the transient nature of your existence. There's no room for personal mementos, no space for the sentimental clutter that marks a settled home. Everything you own is practical essential, reflecting a life lived with a constant awareness of impermanence. It's a stark contrast to the grand elaborate homes of the very men who frequent your establishment, a visual reminder of the vast chasm between your two worlds. You sometimes trace the patterns in the dim light cast by your lamp, imagining a different kind of life, one filled with more permanence, more personal space, more cherished possessions. The thin walls that separate your private space from the rest of the bustling establishment are a constant source of both information and intrusion. You can clearly hear the rhythmic snoring of a girl in the next room, a familiar, almost comforting sound that speaks of shared existence. In the early mornings before the full swing of the day, the muffled sounds of the piano being tuned downstairs drift up a discordant prelude to the night's music. These sounds are a constant auditory backdrop to your own fitful sleep, weaving through your dreams and reminding you of the ceaseless activity of your world. You learn to interpret these sounds to distinguish the mundane from the urgent, becoming an expert in the subtle symphony of your brothel. As the sun begins its slow ascent, bringing the first slivers of light through your thin cotton curtains, the sounds from the street below begin to seep in. The clatter of wagons on dusty streets, the jingle of harness, the cacophony of multi-ethnic voices, English, Spanish, German, all blend together into the waking hum of the town. You can pick out the sharp, practiced laugh of a working woman, a sound that is both familiar and a little heartbreaking, filtering through the window. It's a reminder that even in the quiet of dawn, the world outside is already stirring, demanding attention, pulling you back into the relentless rhythm of your days, a constant gentle pressure to rise and face another round of challenges. The saloon itself, though quiet in the morning, is a raw functional space. A long scarred bar etched with the marks of countless glasses and elbows dominates the room. Mismatched tables and chairs, worn and sturdy, are arranged for the evening's patrons. A small raised stage stands ready for the piano player, his instrument a focal point for the entertainment to come. Faded prints of racehorses and hunting scenes, torn from Eastern magazines, adorn the walls, attempting to provide an illusion of grandeur. A large cracked mirror behind the bar reflects the room, distorting the reflections, a subtle metaphor for the illusions you and your girls present each night. It's a utilitarian space designed for commerce and fleeting pleasure, but in the morning light it feels almost poignant, a quiet stage awaiting its next performance. You've learned that the scarcity of modern conveniences on the frontier deeply impacts every aspect of daily life, particularly when it comes to food and sustenance. The concept of a diverse fresh diet is largely a dream. For breakfast, you often rely on the simple, hearty staples: fresh bread, sometimes a piece of cheese if you're lucky. It's functional, designed to provide basic energy, not to delight the palate. This is the reality of your world. Food is fuel, a means to keep going, not a source of elaborate pleasure. Coffee, however, maintains its special place. It's more than just a morning ritual. It's a small act of defiance against the harshness, a moment of personal luxury you cling to. You ensure that good quality beans are always on hand, even when other provisions might be scarce. The rich, bitter warmth is a comfort, a stimulant, a quiet pleasure that sharpens your mind and fortifies your spirit for the long, demanding hours ahead. You nurse your cup, savouring each sip, recognising it as one of the few, consistent comforts in your otherwise unpredictable existence. It's your quiet moment, your brief respite before the day's demands fully assert themselves. The demanding schedule of your life means that meals are often quick, utilitarian affairs. Lunch, like breakfast, is rarely varied. Perhaps another round of bread and cheese grabbed between tasks. There's little time for lengthy breaks or elaborate preparation. You eat on the go, often standing or quickly at your small table, your mind already on the next task. This constant rush reinforces the idea that sustenance is primarily for immediate energy, a necessary interruption in the ceaseless rhythm of your work. The luxury of a leisurely meal, a time for conversation and relaxation, is a distant fantasy in your world. The lack of refrigeration is a constant challenge, shaping what you eat and how you eat it. Fresh produce is a rarity dependent on seasonal availability or the infrequent visit of a peddler. Instead, you rely on rudimentary food preservation methods: drying, salting meats, pickling vegetables. These are the techniques passed down through generations, essential for surviving in a world without modern conveniences. Your diet is by necessity monotonous, heavy on staples like flour beans and cured meats. You learn to appreciate the simple satisfaction of a full stomach, regardless of the meal's lack of variety, knowing that many on the frontier are far less fortunate. Alcohol, as you well know, is omnipresent in your establishment. Beyond being a primary source of profit, it serves as a psychological coping mechanism for your customers, dulling the edges of a hard life, providing temporary escape from loneliness and despair. For your girls too, it can be a means of coping, a way to numb the emotional toll of their work. You manage its flow carefully, understanding its power to both entice and destroy. While you might occasionally partake, you maintain a careful distance, recognizing that clear-headedness is essential for your role. It's a constant, seductive presence, a force you must both harness and control. You recall the generosity of offering Emily a hot meal upon her arrival, a warm stew, fresh bread. It's a small act, but it speaks volumes about the subtle class distinctions even within your world. As the madam, you have access to slightly better or more consistent provisions than a newly arrived desperate girl. This meal isn't just about feeding her. It's a symbolic gesture, a tangible offer of security and care within the precarious confines of your establishment. It's a stark contrast to the hunger and uncertainty she likely faced on the streets, a quiet promise of a different kind of provision, however conditional, under your roof. It's an initiation, a gesture of inclusion into your unique clan. You rise each morning a familiar weariness in your limbs and begin the routine of personal care. It's a practical rather than indulgent process dictated by the scarcity of resources and the constant demands of your profession. The daily ritual of hygiene always starts with splashing lukewarm and often cold water from a chipped ceramic basin onto your face. You grab a sliver of harsh lye soap, its abrasive texture a stark reminder of its utilitarian purpose. This brisk, uncomfortable awakening is a necessity without the luxury of warmth or abundant running water. It's a bracing shock to your system, a quick way to shake off the remnants of sleep and prepare your mind for the day ahead. You're not aiming for pristine cleanliness, merely a functional one suitable for the rough and tumble environment you inhabit. Mirrors, you recall, are a rare and precious commodity in your world, too expensive and fragile for the daily realities of your establishment. You've learned to know your own face by feel, a peculiar intimacy with the contours of your features. You trace the lines around your eyes, the set of your mouth, the subtle changes brought by age and stress. It's a knowledge gleaned from sensation rather than reflection, an awareness of your physical self divorced from superficial vanity. You recognize the subtle signs of fatigue, the determined set of your jaw, a quiet acknowledgement of the woman you've become shaped by the relentless demands of your life. This absence of mirrors forces you into a deeper, more tactile relationship with your own identity. While your working girls might apply strong, often heavily scented perfumes to mask odours and enhance their allure for customers, your own approach to fragrance is more strategic, more nuanced. Your morning splash of rose water is light refreshing, a practical touch that hints at cleanliness and a subtle femininity. But as the afternoon gives way to evening, you transition to heavier, more elaborate perfumes. This isn't just about personal preference. It's a deliberate part of your professional performance, aligning your personal fragrance with the persona of a successful, elegant madam. It's a subtle signal to your clientele, a marker of your status, distinguishing you from your girls and attracting a better class of customer, willing to pay higher prices for the illusion of refinement. Your insistence on monthly doctor's visits for your employees, you know, is a rare and often stigmatized practice on the frontier. It underscores your pragmatic commitment to maintaining a healthy and productive workforce, a crucial aspect of your business management. You understand the insidious threat of disease, particularly venereal diseases, in your line of work, and these visits are a critical preventative measure. Despite the personal stigma associated with the physician who reluctantly serves women of your kind, you ensure these examinations happen. It's a necessary cost, a bitter pill for both you and your girls, but one that safeguards their health, and by extension your livelihood. You endure the doctor's disdain, focusing on the practical outcome, keeping your girls healthy and capable of working. These medical examinations are brief, thorough, and often uncomfortable checking for venereal diseases, tuberculosis, unusual bleeding, or signs of pregnancy. They are stark reminders of the harsh health realities of their profession, the constant vulnerability to illness in an era of rudimentary medical care. But you understand their necessity. They are a proactive measure, a form of business management that prioritizes the girl's survival and ensures the continued operation of your establishment. You stand by, observing, ensuring the doctor is diligent, knowing that early detection can mean the difference between a treatable condition and a devastating loss for your clan. It's a cold, hard truth, but these checks are a lifeline in a world where disease can be a swift and unforgiving killer. A fleeting moment of sensory luxury for you, the madam often arrives in the late afternoon. This is when you can indulge in a thorough wash with water heated on the stove. It's a stark contrast to the cold splash that began your day, a precious interlude of warmth and comfort. You savour the sensation, feeling the day's grime and tension wash away a brief respite from the relentless demands of your life. This isn't an everyday occurrence, but a strategic indulgence emphasising the scarcity of comfort in your world and the deep value you place on such simple warmth. It's a moment of quiet, personal renewal, a brief escape into a warmth that momentarily soothes both body and spirit, preparing you for the long night ahead. The overall lack of personal space and constant close quarters for the girls, along with shared wash basins and rudimentary facilities, paints a clear picture of communal hygiene practices. Privacy is a luxury rarely afforded. Everything is shared functional and dictated by necessity rather than individual preference. This forced intimacy fosters a unique bond among the girls, a collective understanding of their shared struggles and the practical realities of their lives. It's another layer of the unvarnished portrait of their daily existence, a testament to how every aspect of their lives is shaped by the demanding, often uncomfortable environment of the frontier brothel. You rise with the sun, the familiar ache in your muscles, a constant companion, a stark reminder that running a brothel is far from the glamorous image often portrayed. It is in fact profoundly physically demanding work, despite what most folks might think. Your entire body aches from being on your feet for endless hours, constantly moving between the saloon, the private rooms, and your small office. The unscrubbed wooden floors, often uneven and splintered, combined with your ill-fitting boots, add to the daily toll on your feet and legs, a persistent throbbing that rarely truly dissipates. You carry trays, you intervene in disputes. You stand sentinel, ever vigilant, a constant physical presence that anchors your establishment. It's an exhausting, relentless physical grind, a silent testament to the raw, unvarnished labour required to maintain your empire. Beyond the physical, there's the constant mental exertion. You meticulously keep your own books, every transaction, every payment, every earning, recorded in a hidden ledger that only you can access. This is the true financial heartbeat of your business, the private record of your success and your vulnerabilities. Simultaneously, you maintain a less revealing version for any prying eyes, a carefully crafted set of figures designed to satisfy lawmen or curious officials without revealing the true depth of your operations. This crucial blend of secrecy, financial acumen, and constant vigilance against scrutiny is a mental tightrope walk demanding an astute mind and an unwavering focus. You are an entrepreneur, an accountant, and a master strategist, all rolled into one understanding that control over your narrative, especially your financial one, is paramount. Your role extends far beyond mere business management. You're a complex figure embodying many roles for your unique clan. You are part mother offering comfort and guidance, part warden enforcing strict rules for order and safety, part diplomat managing diverse personalities among your girls and settling disputes before they escalate into open conflict. You nurse the sick, often with rudimentary means, and fiercely protect your girls from abusive customers, sometimes with a visible weapon, and always with an unyielding resolve. And through it all, you must maintain a facade of genial hospitality for your clientele, a professional smile and polite conversation that masks the ceaseless internal work of management and protection. It's an exhausting, multifaceted performance that demands every ounce of your emotional and mental reserves. The working girls you observe contribute far more than just companionship and entertainment. They are the essential cogs in the daily operations of your household. They sweep floors, arrange chairs, wash and mend clothes, performing countless chores that ensure the smooth running of the brothel. Crucially, they also serve as your eyes and ears on the street, gathering valuable town gossip during their errands. Who's arriving, who's leaving, what new mining claims are being staked, what scandals are brewing among the respectable families. This informal intelligence network transforms into valuable currency, a pervasive source of information that helps you navigate the complex social and economic currents of the town. The brothel, in essence, operates as a functioning self-sufficient household, a collective effort where everyone plays a vital role. Your duties also encompass the critical task of training new girls like Emily, initiating them into the harsh practicalities of brothel life. You start them with foundational tasks, cleaning and serving drinks, observing their demeanour, assessing their adaptability. You provide essential, often blunt advice on customer interaction, the art of self-preservation, and the crucial skill of emotional detachment. It's a rapid, pragmatic education, fostering the resilience and professionalism necessary for their survival in this demanding environment. You are their mentor, their guide, their teacher in the unwritten, often brutal rules of this dangerous game, understanding that their ability to thrive depends heavily on your tutelage and their own innate strength. Your role requires constant crisis response, a skill you've honed through countless fraught situations. You recall your calm intervention in Rose's emotional outburst, a moment where a simple argument threatened to unravel into chaos, requiring your firm hand and judicious words to restore order. And then there was the armed standoff with Jed's companions, a chilling encounter where you had to balance the immediate threat to your girls with the delicate equilibrium of your business. These are the moments when your true leadership shines, when you make swift, decisive actions that can mean the difference between safety and violence, between stability and ruin. You are the unwavering centre of your world, the calm eye in the storm, absorbing the shocks and maintaining control. The phrase physically demanding work, despite what most folks might think, truly encapsulates the hidden burden of your profession. It's not just the visible labour, but the invisible toll of constant alertness, the immense emotional labour of maintaining a facade, the mental gymnastics of managing risks and personalities, and the ever-present discomforts of the environment. You might appear outwardly composed, even elegant, but beneath that exterior your body and mind are in a perpetual state of readiness, constantly working, constantly strained. Every day is a battle, and every night as you finally retreat to your cramped room, you feel the quiet, profound exhaustion of having survived another one, a silent testament to the extraordinary demands of your chosen path. You reflect on the paths that led women to your establishment, and you see a common thread, not one of free choice, but of dire necessity. Many girls you know entered the trade as widows, suddenly alone, and without support in a world that offered scant mercy to unattached women. Others were abandoned by men their promises as fleeting as the desert wind, leaving them pregnant or destitute. And then there are those like Emily fleeing abusive homes or false accusations, their reputations irrevocably tainted, all legitimate avenues for survival slammed shut. The truth is, the American frontier offered women tragically few viable alternatives for independence beyond the often precarious institution of marriage. This severe lack of options pushed countless women to the margins, making the sporting life a desperate but often the only recourse. For those fortunate enough to possess a modicum of education, teaching offered a path, but the wages were pitiful, barely enough to sustain oneself. Working as a maid or laundress might provide a roof and food, but at the cost of gruelling labour for a pittance, a cycle of never-ending toil. These were not paths to independence, but to barely concealed servitude. It was within this bleak landscape of limited opportunity that the brothel paradoxically emerged as one of the few places where a woman, however stigmatized, could achieve a measure of financial autonomy and control over her earnings. It was a trade-off certainly, but for many the only one that made sense. Yet for some, the brothel offered a unique, if unconventional, education. You hear whispers and sometimes implement policies yourself where astute madams like Jenny Rogers insisted their girls learn to read, write, speak properly, and even discuss current events. This wasn't about cultural enrichment for its own sake. It was a shrewd business strategy transforming soiled doves into cultivated companions capable of engaging in intelligent conversation. This elevated their perceived value, allowing them to attract a higher class of clientele and command better prices. This pragmatic education was not formal but incredibly effective, equipping the girls with social skills that allowed them to navigate a wider, more lucrative social sphere, ensuring their survival, and for some even a path to personal growth. A new girl like Emily, with her background as a governess, possessed a veneer of polite education, but she was swiftly initiated into the brutal practical realities of brothel life. Her refined manners quickly had to adapt to the raw environment. She started with basic tasks cleaning and serving drinks quickly, learning the nuances of customer interaction and, most importantly, the art of self-preservation in a demanding and often dangerous environment. This was an education in resilience, in reading human nature and understanding the unspoken rules of a world that was utterly foreign to her previous life. Her academic knowledge was quickly supplemented by a far more vital, visceral understanding of survival. Emily's inability to find proper work without references after fleeing a false accusation highlights a chilling truth about frontier society: how quickly a woman's reputation could be irrevocably tarnished. In this unforgiving era, a single accusation, however unjust, could brand a woman, foreclosing all other employment avenues. Without a clean slate, without the backing of respectable references, a woman like Emily found herself in an impossible bind, effectively trapped. The doors to conventional society slammed shut, leaving her with no choice but to enter the sporting life as a last resort. Her past, once a source of pride, became a heavy chain limiting her future to a path she never would have chosen. The entire experience within the brothel, you realise, from managing interpersonal conflicts among the girls to navigating violent customers, serves as a relentless pragmatic education. It's a masterclass in survival resilience and the intricate art of reading human nature. You learn to arbitrate disputes, to diffuse volatile situations, to identify subtle cues of danger in a man's eyes. Every interaction, every challenge hones your instincts and sharpens your wit. This isn't theoretical knowledge, it's hard-won wisdom forged in the crucible of daily struggle. It's an education that prepares you not just for business, but for the very art of staying alive and against all odds thriving in such a precarious world. The brothel, for all its darkness, becomes a brutal yet undeniably effective school of life. You begin to understand that within the complex, often contradictory social fabric of the Wild West, a madam's existence is defined by a continuous negotiation of identity, a performance that bridges the chasm between expectation and reality. Your public image, the very air you project, is meticulously crafted. Your elegant attire, for instance, isn't simply a matter of personal taste. It is a critical form of nonverbal communication, a deliberate choice to project success and command respect from both your customers and the townspeople. That fine silk or velvet gown, the carefully chosen jewellery, these are strategic tools. They attract a better class of customer men, who you hope will pay higher prices and demand less trouble. This outward display of refinement reinforces your precarious but undeniable social influence, acting as a silent declaration of power in a world where women rarely wield it openly. Your public persona is a carefully balanced act honed through years of experience. You're warm but reserved, friendly but not familiar, a tightrope walk essential for both business and personal safety. You laugh at jokes, engage in polite conversation, and offer a welcoming demeanour but always maintain a subtle, unbreachable distance. This ensures respect, prevents unwanted familiarity, and protects you from the very men who seek your services. It's an exhausting, constant performance, demanding immense emotional labour, always keeping your true self guarded a secret behind the carefully constructed facade. You are the ever-present hostess, the watchful matriarch, the master of your domain. Discretion is another cornerstone of your business, a crucial unspoken rule that governs every interaction. You make mental notes about Mr. Wilson's drinking not out of idle curiosity, but because understanding your clientele's secrets is paramount. Men come to your establishment to indulge in desires they cannot express elsewhere, to escape the strictures of polite society. Your role and that of your girls is to provide that safe secret space, ensuring that whatever happens within your walls remains there. Loose lips, can ruin not only reputations but also invite dangerous retribution from powerful men seeking to protect their public images. Silence in your world is a potent currency, a form of protection more valuable than gold. You understand the strategic necessity of operating under an assumed name like Ms. Catherine. Your true identity is a liability, a vulnerability in a judgmental and unforgiving society. Anonymity provides a crucial layer of protection, allowing you to build an empire from the shadows without fully exposing your personal history to public scrutiny. It's a deliberate shedding of a past life, a symbolic rebirth into a persona that embodies power and independence, yet also remains elusive, untouchable by the moral condemnation of the outside world. This new name is your shield, your brand, your chosen identity in a world that seeks to define you. Within the bustling confines of your brothel, you establish an intricate system of communication, specific code phrases and subtle non-verbal signals. A particular glance, a tilt of your head to your bouncer, or an innocuous phrase like, "Mary needs your assistance." These are essential for discreetly managing difficult customers, extracting girls from uncomfortable situations, and maintaining order without causing a scene. These codes are part of the intricate dance of control, ensuring that even in the midst of revelry and potential chaos, you remain the calm, authoritative presence, always aware, always in charge. The girls during their errands outside the brothel become informal intelligence gatherers. They collect and share town gossip, piecing together information about who's doing what with whom, what business deals are being made, what new personalities have arrived. This seemingly trivial information transforms into valuable currency within your walls, providing a pervasive network of informal intelligence. It keeps you abreast of the community's pulse potential threats and new opportunities, giving you an edge in navigating the complex social and economic currents of the town. This is not just idle chatter. It is vital intelligence, crucial for the protection and prosperity of your establishment. In better brothels, like the one you manage, you ensure that transactions avoid crude bargaining or explicit discussion of services in the public areas. This is a deliberate choice, a way to maintain an illusion of gentility that sets your establishment apart from the lower-end cribs. The goal is to project an air of sophistication, to rely on unspoken understanding and discretion to uphold a veneer of respectability. Men know why they are there. The girls know what is expected. The transaction proceeds with a quiet understanding, a subtle nod, a whispered suggestion, preserving a sense of decorum even in the most illicit of settings. This meticulous attention to social etiquette, even in a world that denies you any, is a testament to your shrewdness and your relentless pursuit of profitability, and perhaps a glimmer of respect. You reflect on the profound, often unspoken power of cultural disciplines as a form of performance in your world, recognizing that survival itself is a meticulously choreographed act. The daily transformation your girls undergo from practical workers to fantasy figures is a stark visual representation of this. Corsets are laced, elaborate hair is styled, and makeup is applied to create an illusion. And you, the madam, execute your own change, donning impressive silk or velvet gowns and jewellery. This entire process, from the first tightened lace to the final spray of perfume, underscores that the business is a meticulously choreographed and essential performance for your collective survival. It's a grand theatrical production where every detail, every gesture contributes to the overall illusion of glamour and desirability, masking the grueling reality beneath. The soiled dove persona, a term that carries so much societal judgment, demands an intense emotional labour from your working girls. They are expected to maintain a certain standard of dress and behaviour, never to argue with customers, and always to project gentle hospitality. Even when their hearts are heavy with personal struggles or their bodies ache from fatigue. This is not simply about being polite. It's a form of self-preservation, a professional mask worn to navigate unpredictable and potentially dangerous interactions. You teach them this discipline knowing that a moment of genuine vulnerability, a flash of anger or sadness could shatter the illusion and put them at risk. It's a continuous act, a suppression of authentic emotion for the sake of the business and ultimately their safety. Your brothel, in essence, is a carefully controlled stage where any hint of chaos must be ruthlessly suppressed. Specific rules about order, cleanliness, and the demeanour of its inhabitants are not arbitrary dictates. They are strategically designed to create a conducive environment for business to maintain a desired profitable atmosphere. Every loud laugh that verges on hysterical, every spilled drink, every potential argument between girls, these are quickly managed and contained by you or your staff. You are the impresario orchestrating every detail from the selection of music played on the piano to the flow of conversation, ensuring that the performance never falters and the delicate balance of your world is maintained. It's a constant battle against the inherent disorder of human nature, a testament to your unwavering control. You and your girls engage in significant emotional labour every single night. This requires you all to maintain professional smiles, to laugh at jokes that aren't funny, and to offer polite, engaging conversation, even when facing aggression, disrespect, or profound personal heartbreak. You see it in Rose's eyes, the quiet devastation after Johnny Wilson's betrayal, yet she still manages to offer a polite if strained smile to the next customer. This is a key part of your daily discipline, a necessary shield against the harsh realities of your profession. You learn to compartmentalize, to bury your own feelings, to put on a brave face because the show, as they say, must go on. This emotional resilience is not a natural gift. It is a learned skill honed through countless nights of suppressing your true self for the sake of survival and income. You've watched Emily, fresh from her governess life, quickly adapt to the unspoken rules and expectations of the establishment. You observe her growing confidence in laughing at their jokes, accepting drinks, her posture subtly changing, her gaze becoming more assured, less vulnerable. This rapid learning curve illustrates the intense social and emotional discipline required to simply function, let alone thrive, in this environment. She is learning the art of the performance, the subtle cues, the protective layers that allow her to navigate the nightly demands without losing herself entirely. It's a harsh education, but an essential one, preparing her for the relentless challenges of her new precarious life. Your own unflappable persona is a masterclass in emotional discipline, a crucial aspect of your authority. Your calm exterior through sheer force of will, during confrontations your ability to remain unoffended by dismissive comments or outright insults, showcases your mastery of self-control. You project an air of quiet authority and almost imperviousness to the chaos and disrespect around you. This isn't a natural state. It's a carefully cultivated skill, essential to maintaining your authority and ensuring your survival. You understand that any sign of weakness, any emotional slip could undermine your control and put everything you've built at risk. You are the rock, the anchor, the steady hand in a world that constantly threatens to pull itself apart, a testament to the immense personal cost of power. As the final echoes of the Frontier Saloon begin to fade, and the flickering gaslights of the 1870s gently dim, you can slowly begin your journey back. Let the scents of stale whiskey and cheap perfume, the sounds of distant piano music and muffled laughter, softly recede into the quiet corners of your memory. Feel the rough texture of those unscrubbed wooden floors soften, replaced by the gentle embrace of your own comfortable bed, the warmth of your own clean sheets. The madam's world, with its relentless grind, its fierce independence carved from harsh necessity, and its intricate dance of power and performance, was a universe away from our own. Imagine the ceaseless vigilance, the physical aches, the the emotional fortitude required just to face each dawn. They built empires from society's margins, found community amidst condemnation, and navigated a world that offered them little and demanded everything. You can appreciate the quiet strength, the sheer unyielding resilience these women embodied, even as you find comfort in the modern world's safety nets and amenities. Allow the images of their struggles, their quiet defiance, and their moments of hard-won triumph to gently dissolve. Feel the tension ease from your shoulders, the last vestiges of historical stress drift away with a soft exhale. There's no sheriff to pay no reputation to fiercely guard no hidden ledger to balance tonight. Just the peaceful quiet of your own space, the steady rhythm of your breath, and the comforting knowledge that you are safe, warm, and utterly at ease. The past with all its fascinating complexities has done its work. Now it's time for you to rest. Sweet dreams,